It's very interesting.
From Charlie and Muskogee. If Oklahoma State gets an invite ever to the Pac-12, they'll take it. I don't think it will happen, but Pac-12 money would have to be much greater than the Big 12. But then this is the line here. Pistol Pete's tough, rough customer with his pistols for the tender hearts of the Pac-12.
No, he would be holding a bouquet of flowers.
He would not be allowed to enter the stadium.
No, he'd have a bouquet of flowers rather than a big giant plastic pistol for sure. But yeah, I'm sure Oklahoma State's got their antennas up. For everybody saying, Oklahoma State or Kansas or what. Obviously Kansas is keeping their eyes open. That whole, Big 12 feeling of solidarity lasted less than an hour once the Kansas AD spoke, and the new members are being ushered in, which was still, that's so Big 12. It's so Big 12 to have a day like that. And here's the Kansas AD talking about, well, we're still looking around. But yeah, I think there's nothing that's truly settled. I think the dust has settled for the time being, but there's plenty of conversations that are going on behind the scenes. And I think outside of the SEC, who clearly has a very solid future no matter what moving forward, because they have, they're in bed with ESPN, all the way. And now they're at Texas and Oklahoma, so they're not going anywhere. The Big Ten's not going anywhere. But those others, I'm not saying the ACC or Pac-12 will go away, but I don't think the Pac-12 is so solid, even with Kliavkov looking like he's a much better commissioner than they've had in quite some time. I don't know that they're all sold on, they're all going to be together for forever and ever, and they're going to be the ones adding teams. I still keep my eye on, if I'm the Big 12, the Arizona schools. I keep my eye on Colorado and just see if there's any shift in the landscape, whether it be, politics coming into play or whether it just be disagreements over how things are handled that, like Texas and Oklahoma, they finally got, we don't want to do this anymore. And I think that's possible for other teams in the future and other conferences. But sure, the Pac-12 will remain on the hunt, and teams like Oklahoma State and Kansas got to do what's best for them as well.
And from Caden, Kansas is locked down. The KU AD just wanted to say something to point at him. He wanted to be noticed. He's young. And he also wanted, and again, this is not a negative to him. He's
not
also
knocking him and stuff.
Kind of making sure that his what do you call your constituents are proud that, hey, we have other options if we want them.
I just found it funny that on this day of celebration, it's like everybody's together, and then here he comes, and he's like, no, we're still looking.
And there's a lot of ADs, Paul, and coaches and presidents. They forget that everything now is public.
Yeah.
There are none of these, let's meet with donors in a room at the country club, or let's go ahead. Everything is out there.
I would venture to guess, though.
And that's unfortunate, because there's a lot of good things that could be said sometimes in those little gatherings that you pay money to go have dinner with the president, and then all of a sudden that used to be able to, you get a few of the nuggets.
I would venture a guess that when he said it, he didn't think anything of it. He was like, oh, well, I'm just answering a question. Yeah. And then later on, somebody says hey, what did you mean by that? And he's like, what did I mean by what? And then you're like, well, this is not the time to say those things. It happens a lot. I think people, especially who are not, particularly in front of the media a lot or media trained or care about that kind of thing or think about it, sometimes just say things, and then you go and talk to somebody like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. So
yeah, it's not that big of a deal. It would make me just keep my eyes open on their moves, but I wouldn't, kick him out or anything like that.
From MH5, if KU got an increase in donations from those comments, he did his job. From Colin, I really don't get Kansas's butt hurt. Football makes the money. You really struggle with that. Of course, their basketball team is powerful. Alan Bishop, once at New Mexico State, the president took away Pistol Pete's, the same Pistol Pete's guns. They gave him a lasso, so the student body renamed him Lasso Larry. Eventually, they received enough pressure to return the guns.
I'm surprised the lasso didn't get a bunch of blowback as well. No. That's you can't even do that, and you can't even have obviously the noose is a very controversial image, and so I'm surprised the lasso even was allowed.
And Mike Bean, thank you, Mike. Goff's AD Goff at Kansas. His degrees in journalism, he knew exactly what he was doing. Thanks for the feedback.
Got a media guy in there, huh?
Okay. All right, let's go.